Hey everybody, this is Andy with Two Rivers Counterfeits, Waterfowl Decoys, and one of the real benefits of being in the garage and doing your own decoys is it gives you a great escape from the wife. Well, today my beautiful wife is here filming for me, so everybody say hi to Christy back behind the camera, who just got her did, and it looks wonderful. So this is a much anticipated video. It seems like it's taken longer than the Top Gun sequel to get done, but here we are. Finally, we are going to take a floater goose that is flocked and ready for airbrushing and turn it into an airbrushed goose. So before we get started, I'm going to go over some of the colors that you're going to need, or the colors that I used on this bird. I've got 3 different shades of Parker paint. I know you guys are used to me using Rust-Oleum, and you can use Rust-Oleum. You can use a couple different mixtures of brown and lighten it up, and then straight brown and a black brown. But here we've got nope, that's the wrong can. There it is. Light brown, which is what we're going to use first, then a brown, and surprisingly a dark brown. Bet you never saw that coming. Just like many things, feathers are going to be built in layers. We're going to start with our light brown. We're going to do everything on this bird, with the exception of the very back feathers. Everything is going to be done in a reverse order from what we normally do when we airbrush. We are going to go from the front back. Normally we go from the back forward on the whole bird. Not today, and I will show you exactly why. You'll notice that these feather ridges here are laid in, and this is the thing that most people have the most trouble with. They think that they need to airbrush these fine little highlights in, and you don't. Taking advantage of the natural carving of the bird, we can actually position our airbrush correctly to make sure that these highlights remain the color that they are, which is why we did the almond on the back and the gray on the side, because he's a little bit more almond brown on the back and more gray on the sides, the tips of those feathers. So you'll be able to see those really well as long as you hold your airbrush the correct way. So we're going to get started here with our light brown first. Now the other thing that I've done is I went ahead and I taped off my rump patch. I've got my white paint standing by, and after we finish our spraying, we'll put that on, and that's just an exterior acrylic flat. So I've got that taped off so that I don't accidentally overspray it. Clean the workspace up. And again, I'm on about, let's see, I'm spraying at about 40 psi right now. It should be about perfect. So I'm going to start back here with my light brown, and I'm only going to do the primary flight feathers, starting at the back. Everything else I'm going to switch ends and come up here and come the other way. That's why it was so important for me to have Christy here today, because there's going to be a lot of angle switches and a lot of changing around, so the camera's going to move a little bit. Usually I just use a tripod and do the best I can, but today we're going to be moving around a little bit. So we're going to start with just a light brown on the back. And we're still going to come from the top down to capture those lighter edges, the undersides of the feathers that are on this particular carving. Turn that off before it turns on and scares us all half to death. You don't have to hit it real heavy with the light brown because you're going to darken it up anyway. If I'm in your way at any point, just...
I'll work around you.
Okay. All right, now we're going to come up to the front. And this is the important part. A little helpful advice. your airbrush bottles are going to have a breather hole on the top. You can't plug it because eventually it'll get vapor locked and it'll stop siphoning your paint. You're going to be manipulating your hand a lot of different directions doing this, so be aware that you don't want to completely invert it or tilt it too far over. A lot of these you can actually loosen the nut on the underside and turn your siphon hose in any particular direction, and you may need to do that in order to keep it, especially if you're right-handed leaning over. You might want to have your air hole on the uphill side. That'll help you out a little bit there. So we're going to start right up here on the shoulder, and we're going to have our airbrush down as far as we can get it so that we blow the paint across the tops of the feathers. Now, this light brown, we're going to do a couple of layers on in order to give it a good base brown color. And you want to get most of the whole feather. What you don't want to get is the back side of the feather. So starting here, you just lay it on, and you can see how that back side of that feather remains our almond and goose gray color that we flocked it. And your overspray will capture on the feather behind it, so you don't have to worry about that. And remember that a goose's feather gets darker as it goes from body rearward until you get to the buff part of the tip of the feather. And the goose in general gets darker as he goes from front to back as well. An not all of your goose decoys are going to have this, but this particular bird it's an Avery or a greenhead gear, and it's about 20 years old, but it was carved by Freddie Zink. And Freddie's a good carver, and he's a good student of waterfowl and a great hunter. And one of the things that he did right here is you'll see that there's 3 rows of secondary flight feathers. There's one that has the exposed edge downward. Then these are reversed, and this is true on a real goose too. So you need to spray from the top down on the front row, the bottom up on the middle row, and then the top down again on this row. So lots of switching around. It's just something to be aware of. That's how a real goose is, and that's also how most good decoys are going to have that built in. And that's something that I had never noticed before, but Jeff Killian pointed it out to me, and I'm glad he did, because I just never really noticed it before. So we're going to flip it around here, and we're going to start by coming here and coming down this first row from the top down. And we'll go ahead and get the last row since I'm holding it here. One less opportunity for me to fumble the ball in transition. I just had a PTSD flashback of Derrick Henry dropping the ball in week 1. Poor Derrick. He don't do it often. He did it last week, but we got the Browns and we beat them, so that was nice. Now I'm coming from the bottom up on this one. Now I'm going to go ahead and put some on the side as well, and notice that I'm getting as close as I can to the body so that I can capture those highlights. And that's why it was important to tape off here. And I'm just using little dagger strokes, and you can come in and you can put a little bit of character up here too, make them your own. Geese are all different. Now I'm going to come back through and just kind of make sure that I'm even and I don't have any of that fish scale look like a lot of decoys have. Not that I think the geese particularly care, but we're doing it, so let's make it right. Next I'm going to come up here on the cape. And the cape's tough on most birds, especially birds that have the head attached, which is why, of course, we removed this one. Remove it if you can. cape's also usually in the shadow of the head, so it's not nearly as critical as you might think. All right, now we're gonna come and do the same thing on the other side. Same song and dance. Same drill as before. First row from the top down. Last row top down. And this row is going to be from the bottom up. Through, and being right-handed, the bird's left side is usually the harder side for me. Come through here and hit the sides real quick. Look like I missed anything? She'd let me know if I had, I promise, she'd let me know. Criticize, criticize, criticize. All right, so there's your first brown layer. Already kind of looking like a goose. But 3 colors for 3D, and in this case we're actually gonna do probably 4. We'll change our colors out real quick. Action. All right, next we're going to go with our medium brown. Now with your medium brown, you don't want to be quite as heavy-handed with it, and you want to be a little bit more particular about where you put it. You want to make sure that you lay it on the back half of the feather. Now granted, really on a bird, this is only like the last 20% of the feather anyway, but just for sake of argument here, about the last half of this big feather. So you want to aim it to impact here, and then the one behind it will catch your overflow. So just like before, we're going to start in the back on your primaries. come up to the front, and we're just wanting to hit the back part of that feather, just lightly. All right, just like before on those secondaries. And one thing I've noticed about my my particular camera is that the camera that Christy's filming with right now on my phone, it picks up light really well. So it's gonna pick up any. It doesn't look as dark on the camera as it does in real life. Let's put it that way. Because if you've followed any of my videos before, you know that I like dark geese. I like them to look darker than even than a real bird. I think they can see them better, and this one's no exception. So it looks darker to my eyes than it will to you on the camera. So don't be afraid to make them too dark. Here's one side. Work on our cape a little. Time to lay a few feathers in. And then we'll come over to our port side and do the same thing. Just as long as you keep your airbrush low, it'll hold that highlighted edge there. Looking like a goose to me so far. All right. onto our dark brown. Now with your dark brown, you want to hit the last 10% of the feather. With the exception of the primaries. The primaries you're going to hit heavily. This is our dark brown. All right, just like before, forward, back, but just the last little bit of the feather. So get in here nice and close and just a little darkness right on the back. Not much, doesn't take much, but this will give you that last little pop right up against that lighter color of the feather edge. You don't want a hard line. That's why we went to the trouble of using 3 colors, so that it's kind of a gradual shade from front to back. Put a couple 3 in there. You've heard me say that I'd rather paint smooth ducks, but I hate painting smooth geese, and this is why, because on a smooth bird, I've got a stencil on every single one of these feathers, and it takes forever. About all there is to it. Come back through and find a spot here or there you might have missed, but benefit from a little bit more highlight, but that's really about the color and the shape right there. So the next thing we're going to do, put that up, we're going to grab our head from up in the rafters, put our head back on. Give our bird a soul here, a little bit of pupil action. Make him look like he's on some benzos. Some antidepressants because he knows I'm coming to get him. Peel my tape off here. Now, in the event that you didn't tape or you didn't tape well enough or whatever, if you get a little brown on the tail, it's not a big deal. You can go back over with some black and spray it. Or you can take a rag with a little bit of mineral spirits on it and hit it and probably wipe it right off. And just take a little white paint, just clean up any edges, any overspray, anything like that. Make that butt section snap nice. The old Legally Blonde bend and snap. Get all them Goose's attention. That's it, folks. Right there is your Goose. Ready to rock. Some folks like them darker, some folks like them lighter. You can change the color of the chest like we talked about in our flocking video. If you're out on the West Coast, you might want a grayer chest or a darker back, but all said and done, 90% of your honkers anywhere in North America, or I guess they got them in New Zealand now, they got a pile of them. That'll do it for you. If you have any questions, as always, feel free to shoot me a message or leave a comment, and thanks for watching and good luck.